Everybody got those guys' notes? All right, we're going to do the unit circle, but the main reason we're doing the unit circle is to fill in this chart when we're done. So essentially, at any point, I'll give you the cosecant of 210 degrees, and you got to be able to figure that out, the exact value, or the sine of 330. Okay, you got to be able to figure that out. And once we show you how to develop it, it's not as hard as it looks. So you'll be able to, hopefully you'll be able to tell me what the cotangent of 180 is. Okay, without too much issues for that one. But we got to build up a few things. I think we listed these on Friday, right? Sine of theta is y, correct? Okay, and that's because we use the unit circle, which has a radius of 1, and then if this is the point xy, then opposite would be y, adjacent would be x, and then you're dividing by 1, the hypotenuse. Cosine of theta, we said was x. Tangent, y over x. Cosecant, 1 over y. Secant, 1 over x. And then cotangent, x over y. And I think that's all the further we got. Correct? What do you got next? You got 30, 60, 90 triangle. They can have a hypotenuse of 1. They can have a hypotenuse of 1. If it has a hypotenuse of 1, what will be the other legs? Okay. If it has a hypotenuse of 1, what would be the other 2 legs? Okay. And that's kind of what we built up last week. But we did a triangle, equilateral triangle of length 2. Well, since it's a unit circle, we want to have it length 1. Well, think about this. If this is equilateral, what's going to be this length right here if I drop that perpendicular down? It's going to be 1/2. This length right here is going to be 1/2. Well, can I figure out what that length is? Yeah, got a right triangle. X squared plus 1/2 squared equals 1 squared. Okay, so we need to figure that out. 1/2 squared. Now, don't fill that in yet, so you can just do this above it or beside it or just watch, either way. But what's 1/2 squared? That's going to be a fourth. 1 squared is 1. 1 minus a fourth is 3/4. So once you get x squared equals 3/4, you need to take the square root. So square root of x squared, square root of 3/4. And so it becomes radical 3/2. Because square root of 4 is 2. So that length, square root of 3/2. Now you're either going to need to know or memorize this triangle. Whatever works for you. Hopefully you can just know it and be able to generate it. But if not, you're going to have to memorize it. The side across from the 30-degree angle is 1/2. The side across from the 60-degree angle is square root of 3/2. That's always going to be the case. So if I flip the triangle and the hypotenuse is 1, side across from the 30-degree angle is 1/2. Side opposite the 60-degree angle, square root of 3/2. So now fill that in on your figure there. So you got 1, that bottom leg should be square root of 3/2. That side on the right would be 1/2. All right, same thing for your 45, 45, 90. Make it have a hypotenuse of 1. Make it have a hypotenuse of 1. Do you know what the legs are? What they will be? Bless you. Okay. They got to be the same because it's 45, 45, 90. So I'll call them x. X squared plus x squared equals 1 squared. That's 2x squared equals 1. X squared equals 1/2. Take the square root. Now that becomes a square root of 1 which is 1. Square root of 1 is 1 over radical 2. So make sure that makes sense. Now, what do you get when you rationalize that? What will be left? It will be radical 2 over 2, because I'll multiply by square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2. So each leg is radical 2 over 2. So you have a hypotenuse of 1, and then each leg is radical 2 over 2. Now, the angles that we are going to look at for the unit circle, okay, let me see something here. Are going to be multiples of 30 degrees, multiples of 45 degrees, and multiples of 60 degrees, right? All right, so let's go ahead and flip it over to unit circle. Let's fill in the degrees and radians. Let's take care of that. So this case here, 0 degrees is 0 radians. 30 degrees is pi over 6 radians. Okay, I'm going to use those little marks as my fraction bars there. And then it'll be 30, 45, 60, and then this will be pi over 4, pi over 3, and then 90 degrees is pi over 2. All right, fill out the rest, just the angles and radians. And now remember, as you go on here, I'll fill out the angles. You got 120 degrees, 135 degrees, 150 degrees, 180 degrees, 210, 225, 240, 270, 300, 315, 330, and when we get all the way back to 0, we can also put in its coterminal angle 360. Now I'm hoping that you can do the radians just by using the multiples of 30, the multiples of 45, the multiples of 60. Open. So I'm going to go here. 90, I already put as pi over 2. So 120 is a multiple of 60, 2 times 60. So it becomes 2 pi over 3. 135 is a multiple of 45, multiply it by 3, 3 pi over 4. 150 is a multiple of 30, 5 pi over 6. 180 is just pi. 210, 7 pi over 6. 225, 5 pi over 4. 240, that is 4 times 60, so it's 4 pi over 3. And then 3 pi over 2. And then as we move forward, let's see, 5 pi over 3, 7 pi over 4, and 11 pi over 6. Oh, 360, 2 pi, 2 pi. All right, what are those marks on the outside? What are those there for? You recall? The what? Coordinate points. So since you answered, that was a big mistake, should have answered. Do you know the coordinate points for 30 degrees? Think you got it?
Yeah, it would take me some time.
Okay,
I
all right.
don't know.
Well, yeah, that's my job. Then I get to do my job. All right, we got to come up with all these coordinate points. All right, for this one. And then we're going to, and you don't have to, it's not as difficult as it looks. But here's what we got to start with. Go back on the other side. Start with this figure right here. This is a 30-degree angle. Okay, so flip it over. That first one there on the bottom, you see where you have a 30-degree angle. Drop the perpendicular and create a right triangle. All right, now, okay, that's a 30-degree angle. What is the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse is 1. We just went over a right triangle. It's right above it, which has a hypotenuse of 1. What's the leg across from the 30-degree angle going to be? And what's the leg across from the 60-degree angle going to be? Okay, Esther, what's the leg across from the 30-degree angle have to be?
Oh,
It's right above it.
square root of 3 over 2.
Across from the 30-degree angle.
Oh, 1/2.
1/2. Across from the 30-degree angle is 1/2. Now what's across from the 60-degree angle?
Square root of 3 over 2.
Okay, so it's square root of 3 over 2. Now, Sierra, what are the coordinates at that point?
That would be radical 3 over 2, 1/2.
Yes, radical 3 over 2, 1/2. That would be the coordinates of that point. Okay, and so I'm going to go here for now, and that's going to be square root of 3 over 2, comma, 1/2 for that. All right, now, I have marked on here, in each quadrant, I drew the line that will have a reference angle of 30 degrees. So basically, we're going to get more than one answer out of this. We're going to get 4 answers out of this. Okay, so we need that one 30-degree angle. Now, if this is a 30-degree angle in quadrant 2, what is the angle off the x-axis going to equal? Okay, so if there's a 30-degree angle, what's that angle going to give us total, Nathan? 150. So this is the 150-degree angle right there. And we drop that perpendicular down, and we create the triangle. And so we got the same thing as we had before. Side across from the 30 is 1/2. The side across from the 60 square root of 3 over 2. That's going to be 1/2. Excuse me, hold on. It's going to be negative square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. Now don't flip it over yet. Let's just finish this figure, and then we'll flip it over and do them all at the same time. So that's going to be negative square root of 3 over 2, 1/2 for 150 degrees. If I extend this line down, okay, and this is a 30-degree angle. What is the angle all the way around to there from the x-axis? Tyson, what would that angle be? What would this angle here be all the way from the x-axis all the way to that green line?
210.
210. So now we got 210 degrees. So this is 210 degrees. Across from the 30 is 1/2. We already got radical 3 over 2. So it's going to be negative square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. And now this is a 30-degree angle here. I drop, or I continue with this perpendicular, create that right triangle. So what is that angle all the way around? Okay, starting from the x-axis all the way around, including everything but that 30. Dominic, what would that angle be?
Square root of 3 over 2.
No, the angle.
That would be 60 degrees.
This is 60. You didn't see me. Right here. If I'm starting here, going all the way around.
330.
Yes, thank you. So that's 330. And so this point here is going to be square root of 3 over 2, comma, negative 1/2. So from the 30-degree angle, we also get 150 degrees. We also get 210 degrees. And we also get 330. It's like a big family. So now you can flip it over. Now you can flip it over. And we did square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. So now I go to 150. The only thing that changes, they all have the same coordinates because they're all part of that 30, 60, 90 triangle where the longer leg is on the bottom. And so you fill that in as negative square root of 3 over 2, positive a half, okay? And then 210, they're both a negative square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. And 330, square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. All right, so from that 1, we get all the others. Okay, from that 1, we get all the others. All right, so now what's the next figure of those 3 circles on the other side? It has a 45-degree reference angle, right? So that angle here, I'll use that. If this is a hypotenuse of 1, our leg is square root of 2 over square root of 2. And so that point there becomes radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2. And all of these angles right here will have the same coordinates. Okay, but they all have a reference angle of 45 degrees. What would be the angle in quadrant 2? Okay, we're going off the x-axis. Got to make sure this makes sense. Tessa, what would be the angle in quadrant 2 that has a reference angle of 45 degrees?
135.
Good, 135. Ian Kelsey, what would be the angle in quadrant 3?
225.
225. Good. And Alex, what would be the angle in quadrant 4?
315.
315. So they're all going to have an ordered pair of square root of 2 over 2, comma square root of 2 over 2, with the exception of the negatives. So I go to my unit circle, and I make this radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2. And then for 135, it's negative radical 2 over 2, positive radical 2 over 2. For 225, they're both negative. And for 315, it's a negative y. So if you know those triangles, you can develop anything on the unit circle. Okay, what's the last one we have to do? It has a reference angle of 60. So if you take a look at the figure here, if I drop the perpendicular down, I create a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Hypotenuse is 1. The side across from the 60 is square root of 3 over 2. The side across from the 30 is 1/2. So that point becomes 1/2 radical 3 over 2. And so all those other points now, when you drop that perpendicular down, okay, that'll give us the same thing except positive or negative. And then that angle will be 60, 60, 60. And so now that gives me, they're both negative here. And I got 1/2 negative square root of 3 over 2. All right, so I go to the unit circle, and I'm going to fill in all of those. So it's 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. And then 120 degrees is going to be negative 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. And then what do I get? They're both negative here for 240. And positive 1/2 negative square root of 3 over 2. All right, don't forget your 90, your 180, your 270. All we have to do is put down the ordered pairs there. I had not done that yet. And so if I do that, what do I get for 90? It would be 0, 1. For 180, it would be negative 1, 0. For 270, 0, negative 1. And I don't think I have 0 degrees down. 0 degrees. 1, 0. Okay, what's the sine of 330 degrees? Because right now, we need this, but that's not what, we're not done. We're using this to figure out the other. So sine of 330 degrees. You got it yet? Maggie, you got it yet?
I feel like it's a trick question.
No, don't trick, Elizabeth.
1/2?
1/2, negative 1/2.
Negative 1/2? 330, okay.
Negative 1/2. Okay. What's the cosecant of 210? Okay, cosecant of 210. Dominic?
1/(-1/(-1/2).
1 over negative 1/2, which would be -2. So yeah. All right, now how are they coming up with this? Let's go over that. All right, let's figure this out. Now you're gonna need this in front of you. Keep this in front of you. We'll talk about the positives and negatives here in a minute. And then get this chart out. So have the unit circle in front of you. Have the chart in front of you. Have them both. Now let's go ahead and fill in the radians. So we have that done. Because that's a little bit separate of everything else. So you just need to be able to convert. Try to do it without looking at the unit circle. But if you need to look at the unit circle, that's fine. But list all of the radians. List all the radians. Try and get in that habit of doing it without, just looking it up. Good guess.
I have a chart.
Everybody else have a chart? All right, so now we go through here. 30 degrees, pi over 6. 45 degrees, pi over 4. And 60 degrees is pi over 3. Remember, you multiply by pi over 180, that's how you get them. But if you memorize those three, everything falls from there. 90 degrees is a multiple of 45 or 30, but it reduces to pi over 2. 120, 2 pi over 3. 3 pi over 4. 150 is 5 pi over 6. 180 is pi. 210 is 7 pi over 6. 225, 5 pi over 4. 240, 4 pi over 3. 270, 3 pi over 2. 300, 5 pi over 3. 7 pi over 4 for 315. 11 pi over 6. 2 pi. All right, so we got that. I'm going to start with 30 instead of 0. Now, the very first thing we did in class, which we kind of did last week, but we went over it again. Using the unit circle, the sine of theta equals what coordinate? Equals the y coordinate. For the first time doing this, it wouldn't hurt you to put at the top of the chart what each one is. So sine of theta is y. Until you really, really know it. So what's cosine of theta? It is x. What's tangent of theta? Y over x. And then we get 1 over y for cosecant, 1 over x for secant, and x over y for cotangent for that. All right, so these are all based upon the coordinates of those points. What is the point at 30 degrees? What is the coordinates of that point? As you look at it, Thomas Cassidy, what is the coordinates of that point at 30 degrees?
Third of 3 over 2. And 1/2.
Okay, so what is the sine of 30 degrees? Okay, what is the sine of 30 degrees? Well, at the top it says it's going to be the y coordinate. What's the y coordinate at 30 degrees? It is 1/2. So that is the sine of 30 degrees. Okay. Now, not that you're going to have your calculator with you, but when you're first doing these, you can figure out.
Is there a calculator?
No, oh, absolutely not.
Come on.
You don't want a calculator. You want to know how to do it the right way. So I'm just helping you out. Just helping you out. What's the cosine of 30 degrees? It is the x coordinate, which is radical 3/2. Now, some of these going to take a little bit of work because you're not, until you get a little bit used to them, you're not going to be able to do it in your head. So, like, if you just need to scratch some things on the bottom or on the back, that's fine. But the tangent of 30 is y over x. The y coordinate, okay, is 1/2, right? The x coordinate is square root of 3/2. What's that going to reduce to? Oh, that's good practice for you. What's that going to equal? Down.
Square root of 3/3.
Yep, when we're done, it'll be square root of 3/3 because it is 1/2 times 2 over square root of 3. The 2's cancel. I get 1 over radical 3. No radicals in the denominator for any of this. Radical 3/3. So that's going for tangent. We're going for tangent of 30. Whoops, wrong one. So square root of 3/3. Cosecant is 1 over y. Cosecant is 1 over y. So I am going to look at cosecant of 30 degrees. 1 over y, which is 1 over 1/2, which becomes 2. So that becomes 2. And now we need to do secant and cotangent. Secant is 1 over x. Secant of 30 equals 1 over x, which is 1 over square root of 3/2. This one gets a little messy. All right, is 1 times 2 over radical 3, which will just simplify to 2 over radical 3. I'm not done. You got to rationalize the denominator. Multiplied by radical 3 over radical 3. So you get 2 radical 3/3. So 2 radical 3/3. And the cotangent is x over y. Cotangent of 30 is x over y. What's our x coordinate? Our x coordinate is square root of 3/2 divided by 1/2. Square root of 3. All right, now, what other angles have these same coordinates with just the exception of a positive or negative? What 3 other angles have that same coordinates in that order? Okay, as you look at it, I want to make sure this makes sense. Okay. All right. Clev, what 3 other angles have those same coordinates?
Our piece is going to be 150.
150,
210, 330.
210, and 330. Okay, because those all have a reference angle of 30 degrees. And this is one we went over here in pretty much detail. So 30 degrees, 150, 210. So they will all have the same answers with the exception of a positive or negative. So if you look at 150, okay, it's in quadrant 2. It is negative square root of 3/2, 1/2. What Which ones are positive in quadrant 2? All students take calculus, it's with the S, so sine and its reciprocal, which is cosecant, are positive, so everything else is negative. So it's going to be positive 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2, negative square root of 3 over 3, positive 2, negative 2 radical 3 over 3, and then negative square root of 3. And so now we also know 210. We also know 210. Which is all the same except tangent. Tangent is positive and cotangent is positive. So it's going to be negative 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2, positive square root of 3 over 3, negative 2 radical 3 over 3, and positive square root of 3. And then 330 has a negative y coordinate, and now everything's going to be the same except for cosine and secant. So it's going to be negative 1/2, positive square root of 3 over 2, negative square root of 3 over 3, negative 2, positive 2 radical 3 over 3, negative square root of 3. So we find one and we get 3 others. Okay, so it's not like you have to do each and every one. So you need to figure that out. All right, what I'm going to do here, Sarah, I'll give you the assignment before you leave. I'm going to continue doing these. If you're like ahead of me and you know what's going on, like you can move ahead. But I'm going to go back and do some others. But here's what I want you to do is finish the chart. Here's the assignment, and then do page 525. That's to kind of start reviewing for the quiz on Wednesday. Okay. But if you think you're good, just keep rolling. If you are not, if you're still a little bit you're still shaky here, I'm going to go over and keep going through the chart. Okay, to show you how to do that. And actually, I'm going to go to 0 degrees because that's a little bit different. I'll do 0 and 45. Or I'll just see how many I can get done.
What are you doing, Brooke?
I got quiz next period. Didn't read the book.
Don't take it out on my class.
Oh no, of course not.
Don't take it out on my class of your mistakes.
Bye, Mr. Duo.
We'll see you,
Thank
Sierra. All right, like I said, I'm gonna go through here. If you think you're good, keep rolling. Otherwise, just follow along. 0 degrees. What is the coordinates at 0 degrees? It is the 0.10. Okay, is the 0.10. Well, what is the y coordinate there? It's the opposite side. So the opposite side, there is no opposite side. And it's the y value, which is 0. So sine of 0 is 0. Cosine of 0 is 1. All right, what does y over x give us? Y over x gives us 0. 1 over y gives me what? Undefined. You need to write it out. UNDEF is fine, but it needs to be clear. 1 over x is 1, and x over y gives me another undefined. For all the quadrantal angles, you'll get 2 zeros, you'll get 2 undefined, and you'll get 2 ones, either positive 1 or negative 1. But it's 2, 2, and 2. 2 zeros, 2 ones, 2 undefined. All right, for 45 degrees, the coordinates are square root of 2 over square root of 2. Now, which ones are going to be the same as 45? It's going to be all the 45 reference angles. So it's 45, 135, 225, and 315. Those will all have the same answers with the exception of positives and negatives. So that's the only thing that'll be different. All right, your x value, your sine is the y value, which is radical 2 over 2. the cosine is the x value, which is also radical 2 over 2. Now, you are taking y divided by x. Don't make this hard. Tangent 45 equals y over x, which is radical 2 over 2 divided by radical 2 over 2. Well, anything divided by itself is just what? 1. Now, if you go through the work and you just kind of don't see it right away, you should get everything canceling, but regardless, you should get 1. So that's 1. All right, cosecant and secant, gotta do a little work there. What is, and put it in the proper form. Cosecant of 45 is 1 over y, which is 1 divided by radical 2 over 2. All right, so when you get all done with the mess, I end up, well, not done yet. I end up with 2 over radical 2. 2 over radical 2. But I gotta rationalize the denominator. I get 2 radical 2 over 2. Don't forget those 2's on the outside cancel. When you are done, you should be left with radical 2. So that is going to be the cosecant. That is also going to be the secant. And the cotangent will just end up being 1. Now you got 135, you got 225, you got 315, you got, that's it. And let me do 60 degrees. 60 will be, what color do you need? Green? 60 will match up with 120. It will match up with 240. It will match up with 300. So those will all have the same answers, with the exception of positives and negatives. 2 under 5. 0, 2, 1. So for 60, the coordinates of the point are 1/2 radical 3 over 2. So sine is going to be square root of 3 over 2. Cosine is going to be 1/2. Now you're going to end up with all the same types of numbers as 30, but they're going to be in different boxes. Not going to be exactly the same. So tangent is y over x. So tangent of 60 is y over x, which is 1/2 over square root of 3 over 2. 1/2 times. Hold on. Actually, it's reversed. Should be square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. So which is radical 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. So you get square root of 3. Square root. So that's square root of 3. All right, cosine is 1 over y. Well, I'm just going to save a little bit of time. That's going to be 2 square root of 3 over 3. Secant is going to be 1 over x, which is going to be 2. And then cotangent, you'll get radical 3 over 3. And now you go to 120, you go to 240, you go to 300. All right, finish the chart, and then you have those like 5 or 6 problems to do. And then we'll make sure everybody's good. Let me follow. You follow? It's down.
Yep.
Hey, you guys. Think so? All right. I'll have to double check. Last time you were too good at it.
Here.
72, 88, 99,
We're at.
So you have to like,
Which
square root
was
of 3.
page 525.
I just didn't know.
We're at
It's a negative radical.
No, there shouldn't be a negative radical. The negative is always going outside.
So you just,
It's just the final sign of that.
okay.
No odds. I know, that's why we're doing this.
See, the first one, the second one, so sun and Hey, but oh my god, he's long. There's a question about him. It's like, what does ally what? What the heck? Guys, I don't know. Yeah.